For many Russian conscripts, the illusion of patriotic duty has collapsed, resulting in the latest mass shootings as it was replaced by fear, despair, and an overwhelming urge to escape at any cost, any possibility of being involved in the war. Its grim reality is hardly confined to the front lines, as it is tearing through Russian society, the army barracks and the minds of the soldiers that can be sent to fight it, according to Euromaidan Press media outlet. In the latest incident, symbolizing this internal breakdown, a Russian conscript opened fire on his fellow soldiers at a military unit in Moscow region, killing 2 and wounding another before turning the gun on himself. The shooting occurred in the training center of an anti-aircraft brigade for newly drafted soldiers. While the Russian army claims motive remains unclear, such cases are no longer rare. Shootings, self-killings, and mental breakdowns among newly drafted troops are increasingly common, reflecting a force that is psychologically cracking under the weight of the war. Russian authorities blame isolated stress incidents, yet reports from soldiers and relatives tell a different story of bullying, deprivation, and hopelessness. Despite symbolic claims and censorship, the young conscripts are not blind. They see footage from the front, learn from returning soldiers, and know what awaits them in Ukraine. Many try to flee, but harsh new laws criminalize even online searches for information deemed extremist, a label that conveniently excludes criticism of the war. Euromaidan Press says, those who do end up deployed often face harsh conditions with equipment shortages that have reached absurd levels. Soldiers are sent to the front without or with cheap, barely protective vests and plastic helmets, while boots, gloves, and basic gear are often missing. A shocking video shows a Russian soldier gleefully looting gear from his fallen comrades, filming himself as he pulls a helmet and vest off a corpse and sarcastically thanks the dead for their contribution. His cynicism hides desperation. He had been sent into battle without protection and was grateful to find it on the dead. This scene illustrates how corruption and neglect in the Russian military have turned even scavenging into survival. The shortages go far beyond personal gear, as a video released by Ukraine's 225th Assault Regiment shows German detonators from the World War II era found in a captured Russian ammunition depot. These relics of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact between the Soviet Union and Germany, marked with typical German insignia of that time, are a bitter irony for a regime that claims to be fighting fascism in Ukraine. Euromaidan Press reports. They also expose the staggering depletion of Russian munitions reserves, as Russia is scraping century-old stockpiles to keep the war machine running. Even those conscripts who have not yet been sent to Ukraine are already feeling the danger. Officially, Russian conscripts cannot be deployed to active combat, but that rule has been quietly bent and broken. Thousands are stationed along the border regions, Belgorod, Bryansk, and Kursk, where they come under drone and artillery fire with Ukrainian forces almost daily. The fear of another Ukrainian incursion like the one in Kursk last summer that led to hundreds of captured and missing Russian conscripts haunts many. Lastly, large numbers are coerced into signing so-called volunteer contracts, often under threat of punishment and bullying for the remainder of their conscription tour, with this single signature allowing the Russian military to send them straight to the front instead. Euromaidan Press says, despite the Russian government's efforts to hide the scale of the disaster, the truth is seeping through. Millions of Russians now know someone directly affected, a dead friend, a missing son, or a wounded brother. And with that knowledge comes fear and quiet rage, as the Russian state's myth of the time of heroes is unraveling, replaced by a grim awareness that soldiers are being thrown into a meat grinder. With no prospects of escaping the war, for many conscripts, this means either a desperate attempt to hurt themselves or go to prison at home, or become a nameless victim in the meaningless territorial gains statistics of their commanders. In these circumstances, desertion is also increasing in the Russian army.
At least 3 servicemen from the 247th Caucasian Cossack Regiment of the Russian Airborne Forces were loudly killed near a checkpoint of a military unit in Stavropol, Russia, Main Intelligence Directorate of Ukraine said. On October 22, 2025, as a result of a successful operation by the Main Intelligence Directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, with the support of the forces of the Caucasus Liberation Movement, at least 3 servicemen of the 247th Caucasian Cossack Regiment of the Airborne Forces of the Russian Armed Forces were killed, the message says. According to intelligence, the high-profile event occurred near the checkpoint of military unit number 54801 in the very center of Stavropol. Soldiers and officers of this unit have been actively involved in military operations in Ukraine since 2014 and have distinguished themselves by committing numerous war crimes during the full-scale invasion of the Russian Federation, added the Main Intelligence Directorate. Recently, the FSB announced the arrest of a 25-year-old man in connection with an attack in Georgievsk. Security officials identified him as a local resident, although during interrogation he claimed to have arrived in the Stavropol territory. According to security officials, the attack was planned in the Georgievsk Municipal District Administration building. The suspect is a Georgievsk resident, whom the FSB describes as holding radical views. Although the FSB's official statement identifies the detainee as a resident of Georgievsk, the man says on camera that he came to the Stavropol territory without specifying his origin.